Hello everyone, it's Katia with Lunar Sun Creations, and today, as you can probably guess from everything on my desk, we are going to be playing with stencils. There's something that I have a lot of and I never seem to use, so let's see what we can come up with. Alright, so I'm starting out with some Distress Oxide Ink, so I've got some Blueprint Sketch and some Mustard Seed, and I'm just going to do a half-half background. I'm going to do a full half of it on a diagonal with the Blueprint Sketch and the other half with the Mustard Seed. I just sped this up so that you didn't have to watch me do it. It's just nothing special, just half and half. So now I'm coming in with a mandala stencil. I've put half of it blocked off by a piece of scrap cardstock, and I'm going to do the opposite color on each side. So yellow on the blue and blue on the yellow. So now I just flip it around and do the opposite, try and line up the center hole of the stencil. And you can use any stencil for this. It doesn't have to be this specific one or even a mandala. Anything that has like symmetry to it would work. Actually, it doesn't even have to be symmetrical. You can use any stencil. Just use what you have. And I like to use the lid of my ink containers to hold down the stencil, and that way you don't get any fingerprints. I'm usually a very messy crafter, so this makes it so that I don't muck it all up right away. So I decided that the blue wasn't vibrant enough, so I came in with some, I believe it's the peacock feathers, or is it the broken china? Anyway, I came in with another kind of more turquoisey blue to amp it up a little bit. And then I also felt that the yellow wasn't quite bright enough on the blue, so I ended up going over that a second time with the yellow again as well, or the mustard seed. And I'm happier with that. I know I'm going to cut it, so I'm not too concerned that there's a bit of muck up at the very top there. So for the second card, I'm coming in with a Paper Rose Starry Night stencil. And first I'm going to take some chipped sapphire, Distress Oxide, and I'm going to cover the entire background with the chipped sapphire. You can use any color, but I do find like a dark background looks better with this technique, but I mean, it can really, again, use what you have. And then I'm taping my stencil down so that it doesn't move all over the place. And then I'm using some 3D gloss gel. I've had this stuff forever. You can use any gel as long as it's transparent. That's the main component to what we want here. And then I'm taking some Perfect Pearls. I've got the confetti white, but you can use any color you like. Silver would look really good in this as well, but I didn't have any silver. And I'm just taking some of the Perfect Pearls and mixing it into the gel medium, the gloss gel that I have on my desk. And then I'm just gonna spread it all over the stencil. I didn't have quite enough there, so I had to mix some more. I absolutely love the look of the reveal. It's like Christmas morning. Oh, it came out so sharp and so nice. I was really happy with it. Now I'm coming in with a scrapbook.com Moroccan tile stencil. And I'm just using some molding paste. You can use modeling paste, you can use white gesso, any kind of like white opaque paste will work great for this technique. And I'm putting on a fairly thick layer of this. I wanted it to be really dimensional. So then I let that dry completely and cleaned up my area and cleaned off my stencil. You can kind of see how thick it is there. And I wanted to play with some watercolor markers. I have some Tombow markers and I also have some Jane Davenport. I have never ever used them. I got them a little while ago. I've never played with them before, so I didn't really know what to expect. So I had a few colors that I thought might look good together. I end up completely changing it. So I'm spritzing generously with water all over my project. And so I came in with that olive green first. And the color wasn't coming out as fast as I had thought that it would. It was still creating a really cool effect though. It kind of reminded me of like, you know, that Plinko game in The Price is Right? That's kind of what it made me think of. Then I came in with some blue. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I just stuck with those two colors and just called it a day and just did a little bit more with those two colors. But no, I came in with this and this was okay. I was all right with that. But then I decided to try some Jane Davenport because the color wasn't quite intense enough for me. And this is where it all changes. That it was some kind of teal color, and it completely took over the entire thing. And then I just go overboard from here. You know that saying that less is more? Yeah, I haven't learned that at all. And I just keep going and going and going. So I've got some blue bottle. I had some like coral there. I just went way over the top with the color. And then I kind of went sideways and some of it went over top of the white parts of the stencil. Like I was going to keep them all white, But then I decided that I actually kind of liked that a little bit, where there was color on top of the white. So then I end up like picking up some of the extra ink and dabbing it onto the white parts on purpose. So this went from like, it was supposed to be a very soft watercolor background and ended up being the complete opposite of that. So I might try this whole technique again and actually do what I intended, which was like a really soft watercolor, just a little bit. But you know how we go. I'm always over the top. Okay, so for the next card, I am going in with some Dusty Concord, and I'm just going straight with the oxide right onto the paper. That was the last card was a watercolor paper, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. And then I go in with some Wilted Violet, again straight from the ink pad, direct to paper. I love the creamy chalkiness of these oxides. And then I went in with some worn lipstick. And then, of course, I don't like it at all. And so I completely change it up. And I come in with some green. I think this was Everbow. And decide to go over the Dusty Concord. I thought it was too, I don't know, kind of muted. And then I also switch that. So I come in with some Broken China and cover that. So I go back to my favorites, which is purple, green, and blue, and turquoise. I change up so many of these cards as I go. So then I come back in with that same Moroccan stencil. And this time, I am going to go over the whole thing with black gesso. You could also use black acrylic paint. That would also work. I love lifting up the stencils. Oh, I could just line them up and lift them up and it would make me so happy. So that looks really cool. I set that aside to dry with the other ones. And once it's dry, I come in with some Nouveau sprays, the Shimmer Sprays. I wanted to give that black texture a little bit more punch. So I wanted it to have a little shine to it. You could also just use some Perfect Pearls over it. I just wanted there to be a little bit of shine. Sorry, my cats are going a little crazy playing together beside me if you're hearing extra noise. So I tried to coordinate the colors with the oxides that I'd used underneath. You can use any spray. You can even mix some acrylic paint with water and use that as a spray. That I end up cutting that part off because it just got a little bit too intense down there. But then in true Katia fashion, I decided that wasn't enough, and so I go back in with the purple spray and put more on. Always more. Then I set that aside to dry. So now I'm working with some vellum. This is something I've never done before. I just thought I'd give it a shot. I have no idea what to expect. So I've got some soft matte gel. I'm going to put a little bit in 3 containers. And then I've got a lotus kind of stencil that I've had for ages. I can't remember where I got it from. It was in a pack of a bunch of stencils together. I put way more gel medium than I needed. I needed about half of what I put in here, but I'm such an excessive person. And then I've got 3 different mica powders. They're all color changing. I used these because I thought they would be the most intense color. They ended up being a lot softer than I thought they would be. It still turned out pretty though. So I just add a little bit of the powder to each of the little bits of the soft gel and then mix it all together. And then I'm literally just going to take 3 different paint brushes and paint with these over top of my stencil. So again, I tape my stencil down so it doesn't move, and to try and keep it as flat to the paper as possible so that I don't get a lot of stuff underneath the stencil. And then I'm literally just painting very messily. Messily, is that a word? It's a very messy painting job, but I'm okay because I know the stencil will just, hopefully, will just pick up where the lines of the stencil are, if that makes sense. I might try this technique again and try to get more intense colors because they were a lot softer than I thought they would be. I thought they'd be pretty intense. It does look cool when I lift off the stencil, but it wasn't quite the punch that I was anticipating. Still looks cool though. And then the last card, this was just an extra little bit. You've probably seen this before. Moving the stencil a little bit and kind of doing like a layered effect. So first I've got some mustard seed distress ink and I go over the whole thing with the mustard seed. And of course this is the one time that I don't tape down the stencil. Don't know why. So it does move a little bit. But then I use the lid again to try and help hold it down without making a mess. And then I shift the whole stencil up and to the right a little bit. And go over the whole thing again with the crackling campfire. And it's a pretty cool effect that happens. I decided that I thought that it needed one more layer, so I went in again with some ripe persimmon, however you say it, the orangey color, ripe persimmon. I have no idea how to say it. And that is that one. So now I'm going to make some cards. Okay, so here are the cards I created with all of those backgrounds. So this was the first one where I flipped the stencil and did opposite colors. And I just made it into a streamline card. I used a sentiment from the Picket Fence Studios Seriously, Absolutely Always stamp set, the one at the bottom that says, you are absolutely, positively amazing human being. Love that. And yeah, so that's the first one. I didn't show creating the actual cards because I didn't do anything like super extreme with them. They're all fairly simple. The second one, this is that background with the little bit of perfect pearls in the soft gel medium. Isn't that so pretty? You can totally see the shimmer of the perfect pearls and it kind of looks like a night sky. So I used a sentiment from the Altenew To the Moon stamp set, and it says, I love you to the moon and back. Really, really simple. I felt like it did enough on its own. It didn't need anything else. So that's the second one. The third one, this is the Moroccan tiles stencil that I went way too crazy with the watercolors. So I just used Simon Says Stamp Good Vibes die and cut that out in the white, and then I used the Distress Embossing Glaze in Broken China to emboss it there and make it all shimmy shiny. And then it needed something else, so I just took a flower, a cardstock flower out of my stash and just added that on as well. Okay, and then for the fourth card, this is the one where I sprayed over the Moroccan tiles with the black gesso. So I just added a couple butterflies. I added a sentiment from, it's a Crafter's Square sticker set. So I used that. It says, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. So I just cut the piece at an angle and put some coordinating cardstock under there, and then did a border with another color of coordinating cardstock. So fairly simple, but it looks really cool. And then this is the one where I wasn't quite sure if it was even going to be usable. I'm like, I don't know if that worked. I felt it was a little too muted when it dried, so I just went over, I put the stencil back on and just kind of traced all the outlining areas in black marker, and then matted it a couple times with a coordinating cardstock. And then this sentiment is a Crafter's Companion Stay Weird stamp, and it says Stay Weird on the front. I thought it was kind of a weird card, so I thought that worked. And then on the inside it says life is too short to be normal. So this actually turned out to be one of my favorite cards. I didn't know if it was going to work at all, but it actually kind of turned out kind of cool. I kind of like this effect. So that is the fifth one. For all of those different borders, I used both the Simon Says Stamp A2 thin frames and these stitched frames from Memory Box. Okay, so I just used two different frame dies to create all the frames for those. And then the last one was the one where we kind of moved the stencil, and it kind of looked like flames to me, so I decided to use the Crafter's Companion Walk Through Fire stamp set, and on the front it says, I'd walk through fire for you, and then on the inside it says, will not fire because it's dangerous, but a super humid room, but not too humid because my hair. I just wanted to use a couple funny ones, so I used that on that. And it's not fancy, none of the cards are really fancy, but they're simple, but they're cool. I like them. So that is what we created with stencils. So yeah, very, very different cards. Not sure if I'm super fond of the fire one. It's almost a little too simple for me, but you know, that's all right. But I do like all of these ones, and they're very, very different, but they're very cool. So you can create a lot of interesting things with stencils. So there you have it. There is our stencil tutorial. I think the next time I come back, I'm gonna use some kitchen products and acrylic paints is my next plan, I think. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and comment down below if you liked it and if you learned anything. I hope I inspired you to try some new things, a lot of things I had never ever done before, but it's worth a shot. See what happens when you mix different kinds of media together. Alright, I love you all, and I hope you're having an amazing day. See you soon. Bye!